Hey friends, it's John. You are on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. It was over a year ago that I introduced you to the concept of the JRB Ascender Hitch. There are several variants and there's a dedicated playlist on my channel so you can watch the evolution of this friction hitch. Today I will be introducing another variant, but also taking one away. So in chronological order, on the left side here we have the 5, 2, 3 JRB Ascender, and I'll explain what those numbers mean. And I've got it tied in what we call soft bridge mode, and I've got a dedicated video on how to tie this. But this is the first friction hitch I am aware of where I could successfully climb in an SRT configuration on just a single friction hitch. And that's why I introduced it and showed it to you. It also has this really nice feature, well, it was discovered along the way, where when it's in this soft bridge mode, where I've got 2 loops exposed, I can advance the hitch or kind of auto tend it by pulling on the rope. That is a really cool feature for a lot of applications. We could build a foot loop for a tether application. There's a lot of interesting applications for that. And we can also transform it into a single loop, and that is the way I climb on this in my stationary doubled rope method. This is exactly what I tie. I put my load here. I like a little space here so I can get some separation between my lines. I can put a handle on it and I climb with that, and if I want a second loop, all right, so that's the basic hitch and the way I use it most frequently. These 3 on the right are compact variants, so that the load is placed right under the hitch, and in so doing, this is the compact version 1 that I introduced over a year ago. But in all of these options, when we've got the carabiner right under the hitch, this ability to auto tend is even easier because the carabiner serves as sort of a mechanical point of lubrication in the design. It's a tending device at the same time, and it creates a larger bend radius for the rope. And so all of these options tend even easier. So this is the first one that I introduced, and it required the incorporation of a hunter's bend up inside the hitch. And frankly, it's just difficult to tie. You need about 3 hands to do this hitch, and still an exercise to get this optimally compact. And so although it's part of our history, and I may make this video disappear in the future. I might turn it into a hidden video where it's still on the channel if you bookmark it, if you want to reflect back on it. But I'm going to be replacing that with one of the 2 options on the right. So let's let that disappear for a moment. On the right side, you've already seen this. This is the compact non-jamming hitch. It's still a 5-2-3, 5 upper coils, and what I've done is I've moved the bend from inside the bottom loop up inside the hitch and made it a flat overhand bend, and I backed it up with a overhand knot. And what this allows me to do is, again, be optimally compact, but also this is the variant I prefer using when I'm hitch climbing. So in hitch climbing, I'm effectively doing an SRT climb, but as I get close to my point of attachment, and this is pressed hard against the tree, I don't want to have to put my fingers behind here to advance the hitch. And with this version, I can just simply grab on the tails here, and I can advance it that way. So this is currently my preferred option for hitch climbing. And what I'm introducing here on the right is a new compact variant. It's very easy to tie, and it'll replace the one that just disappeared. Easier to tie. It has similarities to the compact non-jamming in that I am using a flat overhand bend instead of a hunter's bend. And in this case, I like it on the same side as the link segment, which joins the upper and the lower stages. So in this video, I'll be showing you how to tie this variant, and I'll also be showing you how similar all 3 of these are. With a little longer cord, we'll tie it a second time and show you how I could create any one of the 3 of these without ever retying the entire body of the main hitch. I will note that the reason I'm introducing this version is, again, to replace any complexity or difficulty in tying the compact version 1. But also, this is the option that some of my arborist friends prefer when creating a moving rope system that auto tends. So if you do your homework on moving rope systems, one of the most popular methods for doing so is what we call a hitch climber pulley, where a pulley is placed under a friction hitch to help tend it or move it as we climb. Well, with the JRB Ascender, this could be the moving side of our rope, and the static side just attaches here, and as we climb, as we pull down on this, it just advances. So we can build a moving ropes system that auto tends, equivalent to a hitch climber pulley, with basically zero setback, and no pulley. Okay, let's go ahead and tie one. All three of these variants were tied using 6 feet of sterling 7mm cord, and I'm tying them onto Maxim Canyon Elite rope. It's advertised as 9mm. I measure it as closer to 10. But on my website, jrbtreeclimbing.com, on the length specifications page, I have detailed, and I'm continuing to expand that content with additional information on length specifications for different rope and cord combinations. So in this case, I'm taking 6 feet or 183 centimeters of cord. I have a standing part of 19 inches or 48 centimeters on the left, and I will place that on the rope in this location. And let's zoom in and watch this in as much detail as possible. As per all prior designs of the JRB Ascender, I'll just be tying this in the Z or right-handed chirality, because I'm right-handed and it's just a little easier to tie that way. I make 2 upward coils in this fashion. 2 coils, and drop this down in front. Now, I'm going to grab a nail here to just keep my fat fingers out of your way and show you the location that I will be dropping that down. I'll be dropping the working end down from the tip of the nail towards the head. Let me remove that. And in this fashion, I drop that down and pull it out the back. That, just tug it snug enough to stay in place, but not extremely tight. That's the bottom stage of the hitch. With that working end, I will recall I started left to right. I'll bring it out the back, and I will continue or start over again left to right with 5 coils in that same left to right or Z chirality. So there's 1 time around the back, twice around the back, 3, 4, 5. I'll pause here to note that in certain cord and rope combinations, you might only need 4 or you might need 6. But for these diameters, I've tested and climbed extensively with this combination, and it works great. And this comprises the 5 in the 523 JRB Ascender. I drape that down across the front, and I verify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now, here comes the 2 in the 523. I'll be shooting that up through the bottom 1 and 2 coils. I'm going to take the working end and replace the nail. 1, 2. All right. Work slack out of that. And lastly, I'll bring that same working end and I will bring it through these 2 bars. It's going to follow the nail heel or go through here and then through there. So as I execute this, this has been a constant in the JRB Ascender since the beginning. The 523 or the 423 as depicted in prior videos all have this fundamentally same architecture. Now for this variant, I'm going to grab a carabiner, because the carabiner, we want it to be right in this location against the hitch. I'm going to take my nail. I'm going to locate this portion here on the left side where we have the link segment joining the top and bottom stages. I go above the top two bars and I shoot this through. Okay, there's my nail. It's gone over two strands, and let's look on the side. It's bound by two strands, right? It's not just one. It's got two strands outside of it. That's the load location. So I kind of mark it there, leave a little gap, and I take the working end, which is on the right side, I place it over the carabiner, and I will be bringing it through there, So you'll lose sight of me for a second here while I do that. It's just impossible to stay in view. But you see that end coming through? So I've secured my carabiner in its location, and now I simply want to close it there. That will be the finished version. Take a look at this one. But what I can do here is I can take advantage of the fact that I've got the carabiners removable. I'll temporarily remove it. I'm going to get all the slack out that I reasonably can with my fingers. And I'll go ahead and I'll form a flat overhand bend right here. And I won't need to be really careful about getting it close to the hitch because I need to fit a carabiner through there. So when we form a flat overhand bend, it's really just an overhand knot. I'll just use my finger as a point of reference because I don't want any unintentional twists or overlaps of the cord. Okay, so let's do that. Here we go. Overhand. Still really loose, but I'm looking at it and it doesn't have any unintentional twist, right? We don't want any of that business. We want it to be optimally compact. I get that in place, and then I just need enough room in there to fit my carabiner through. That's pretty easy to get that. Just pop it through. It's okay if it's a little tough to form it the first time because slack has a way of showing up in this. And so I've just tied it for the first time. I'm not going to even bother locking my carabiner, and I just hammer on it a little bit to break it in. It's brand new cord. Okay, that looks pretty good. If I needed to get some slack out, I can do that. I can pull. We never want to just climb on something that we just tied, right? We want to tune it. I don't really have any tuning to do on this. It's perfect. Now maybe after a climb it might need a little bit of tuning, and that's fine. And tuning would just comprise backing off the carabiner, untying this, and retying it. Okay, now I back it up. I create a backup here, and the location for it could be right against the original bend. I tend to leave a little bit room. You can see with that 19 inches I came pretty close with my ends being the same length. I could always trim them if I want to, but it doesn't bother me. But I back it up with a second overhand knot. I would tighten these as hard as I can, but I won't do that right now, not wanting to obstruct your field of view. And that is the finished compact JRB Ascender 523. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at the finished product for purposes of inspection. The 523, this is the 5 up through 2 and showing 3 bars here. And the bottom 2 may cross over. That's not a big deal. That's just the way it looks when it gets loaded. On the left side of the hitch, as I tied it, we've got that descending strand off of the top of the helix. We've got the 2 strands that join the upper and the lower segments, and we have the bend. And there is a reason I put the bend on the left side rather than on the right side. Simply put, I tested both options and this one performed better. It just balances better and is much less likely to require tuning or retying. I'll give you an opportunity to view it in all 4 dimensions. The back side, and honestly I never really look at the back side. I do all of my tying and climbing with it facing me as I tied it like this. And again, this is one of the only friction hitches I'm aware of where I can put my full body weight on this hitch and then break it under load and transition into rappel, and the friction for rappel is provided by another device, typically for me a Munter friction hitch. Okay, now what I'd like to show you is how in a practice situation we could build any of these and effectively transform one into the other. So for this exercise only, I've got a 7-foot length of cord, and my working end is just a little longer than my standing end. Again, refer to the JRB treeclimbing.com website and the length specifications page to know the exact lengths if you want to get it right the first time. But it pays to practice and tie these a few times and fine-tune them. So in real time, I'm going to tie a 523 JRB Ascender, and I'll show you how any of these options, even though there are prior videos on the 2 in yellow, there's dedicated videos to them. I'll just show you the similarities. That's my bottom stage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also I'm not showing off, but I'm giving an opportunity to show that these hitches, even though I try to take my time when I'm tying them for you in a not tying video, the kind of speed that you can expect from yourself once you get fluent with them. So I have just repeated what you saw earlier and you've seen in all the prior videos on the 523. I've got the basic architecture there. So let's start by creating this one on the left. Well, take the nail, make a little room there. Drop the standing part on the left side. That was the standing end. It becomes a working end to finish the hitch. I drop it through, and then I create a hunter's bend here. Again, dedicated video on the hunter's bend on my YouTube channel. That's how long it takes me to tie it. And I've recreated this. I can load it once with 1 loop as on the left, or extend this and load it with 2. Now let's back that last part off. Let's remove the hunter's bend, and let's create the non-jamming version. Well, this part's the same, so there's no sense taking that out. Carabiner goes here. And all I do to create the non-jamming variant is I move the bend up inside the hitch. So I back off this descending leg that came down through here. I back that off, replace it with this. And insert my flat overhand bend here. Now for this one, I pull as much slack out of this as I can. I pull on this and even get it a little jammed up because it's simply impossible for me to tie this with 0 slack. I do the best I can, and the little bit of slack I introduce into it will float back up into the upper stage and usually comes out perfect every time. I rarely need to tune these anymore. tune them, meaning remove slack. So now the first time I move this, it's going to be a little tight. See, that's a little tight, but as that slack that I put in here floats back up, becomes perfect, I make sure that that's comfortable. I don't climb on it until I'm certain, and then I put in my backup here. Okay, you get the idea. All right, won't make that tight. We're going to go ahead and transform it into the newest variant. And the nice thing about the new variant is it really is easy to tie. We don't ever have to change that which is the working end. The working end remains constant. So back to the original, that's the original JRB Ascender, and to create the newest variant, we keep working with that working end as it descended out of the upper helix and through the bottom stage. And we put our carabiner here. This comes in the back, right? When I work with the left side, I go in through the front, and when I work with the right side, I come in through the back. And I've got that where I want it. I'll tie my bend right here where my fingers are pinching, flat overhand bend. So one of the reasons I waited to show you this is I just wanted some more time with it. I needed a version to get started with hitch climbing, and succeeded in that. Okay, let's get this finished. And might have to retie this a little bit to get these perfect, and just get enough room for my backup. The actual length of your working and standing ends does vary for these. Again, refer to the website for that. But I wanted to give you another option. I didn't anticipate this one developing, and so I do prefer this for hitch climbing. I prefer this for JRB doubled stationary method, and I prefer the new one here in red. I prefer that for a moving rope system which auto tens, or anytime we just need to tie it quickly and compact. This really does work quite well. These will all auto ten, and this one will as well. Just a little bit more work without the presence of a mechanical device for a I call it mechanical lubrication. All right, team, thank you very much. And by the way, just a little sneak preview, but I do have another friction hitch coming, and it's easier to tie, and it also auto tens. And so I'm working and testing on that now, and so I really look forward to bringing that to your attention in the near future. Thank you.